You are 24, and your entire financial life fits inside 11 days. That's not a metaphor. That's the actual, literal distance between now and the next paycheck. And everything you think about money happens somewhere inside that window, because nothing outside it feels real yet. The account says $340. Rent is due in 6 days. You've already done this math 4 times today, and it comes out the same each time, which doesn't stop you from doing it a 5th. This isn't recklessness. You haven't bought anything foolish. The money simply has nowhere else to be. It arrives already spoken for, the way a relay baton arrives already moving, and by the time it's in your hand, it's already halfway to someone else's account. Someone at work mentions a retirement match, almost in passing, the way you'd mention weather. Free money, they say. You nod. You do not act on it, not because you don't understand it, but because free money later doesn't compete with rent due in 6 days in any contest your brain is currently running. Long-term thinking isn't a discipline you're missing. It's a luxury that requires a horizon longer than 11 days, and you don't have one yet. There's a specific tiredness to living this way that has nothing to do with hours worked. It's the tiredness of running the same calculation on a loop: rent, gas, the card balance you're not quite looking at directly, groceries, the number in checking, over and over, all day, in the background of everything else you're supposedly thinking about. You've heard people describe this as bad discipline. It has never once felt like discipline from the inside. It's felt like a small, constant hum that never fully turns off, because the moment it does, something might slip through unnoticed. 8 months later, you've done something that doesn't look like anything from the outside. You've put $40 aside, most weeks, into an account you've told yourself not to touch. It isn't a strategy exactly. It's closer to a habit that started almost by accident, after a coworker named Owen mentioned, laughing, that he'd just financed a new phone he didn't need because the old one still worked fine. It's basically free with the plan, he said, and something in you quietly decided you didn't want a life built on basically free. You're not against Owen. Owen is generous, funny, always first to suggest the group dinner. Owen is also always slightly behind on something, in a way that never seems to bother him, and you've started to notice the difference between the two of you without being able to name it yet. By month 8, the buffer is $600. It isn't much. It also isn't nothing, and the specific thing it does, the only thing it does at this size, is make one particular kind of Tuesday less frightening than it used to be. Not comfortable, less frightening. That's the whole function of the first buffer, and nobody warns you in advance how small that function will feel compared to how much it actually changes. The test always comes, and it rarely announces itself. For you, it's a car repair, $410, an amount that 8 months earlier would have gone straight onto a credit card and sat there, growing, for months. This time, it comes out of the buffer instead. You watch the number drop from $600 to $190, and your stomach does the thing stomachs do when a number falls. But something else happens too, something you don't have a name for yet. The bill gets paid, in full, in one motion, and then it's simply over. No card, no minimum payment trailing you into next year, no slow bleed. You rebuild the $190 back up over the following 2 months, the same way you built it the first time. $40 here, $40 there, unremarkable, almost boring. Owen's car needs the same kind of repair around the same time. He puts it on a card. He mentions it once, lightly, and moves on. You don't judge him for it. You just notice, quietly, that his $410 is going to cost him more than $410 by the time it's actually paid off, and yours already has. This is the first time you understand, in your body rather than just your head, what the buffer is actually for. It was never about the number sitting there looking impressive. It was about turning a $410 emergency into a $410 event instead of a $410 plus interest plus stress ongoing situation. A problem, at this level, finally stays the size it started as. That distinction, a problem staying the size it started as, turns out to matter more than almost anything else in this entire story, though you won't be able to fully articulate why for a few more years. At level 0, every problem grew while you weren't looking, quietly, through interest and stress and the small additional problems that unresolved problems tend to spawn. The buffer doesn't make problems disappear. It just stops them from multiplying. which turns out to be most of what actually mattered the whole time. 2 years in, you and Owen make roughly the same amount of money. Nobody looking at either of your lives would be able to guess that anything had diverged between you. You still drive the same car. You still live in the same kind of apartment. Owen has a nicer phone, a nicer jacket, a slightly nicer everything, updated on a rolling basis as each thing gets a newer version. You don't think Owen is doing anything wrong. That's important, because this isn't a story about a villain. Owen is simply making one kind of trade consistently, and you're making a different one consistently. And for a long time, the two trades look identical from the outside because neither one photographs. What's actually happening underneath the identical-looking lives is that your buffer has quietly grown past the point where it only handles emergencies. It's not large. It's not a headline number, but it's large enough that a specific kind of background hum, the one that used to run under every single day at level 0, has gone mostly quiet. You don't check the account 4 times a day anymore. You check it maybe once a week, out of habit more than anxiety, and most weeks, nothing about the number requires your attention at all. Owen asks, once, almost idly, whether you're doing okay financially. He's noticed you don't upgrade things the way he does. You tell him you're fine. You don't explain further, not because you're hiding anything, but because there isn't really a short version of, I've decided quiet matters more to me than visible right now. And a long version feels like it would sound like judgment, even when it isn't meant as any. There's a strange loneliness folded into this level that nobody mentions in advance. Not sadness exactly. More like a gap between what people assume about your life and what's actually true underneath it. A gap only you can see the width of. You don't resent Owen for not seeing it. You just notice, increasingly, that there's no natural moment in a normal week where this particular thing becomes sayable out loud, so it mostly doesn't get said, and you get used to carrying it quietly the same way you got used to the 11-day hum a few years earlier, just a different weight, in a different shape. Your father calls on a Sunday, careful in a way you recognize immediately, the way people sound when they've rehearsed the first sentence. His car needs a repair he's been putting off, not because he can't eventually manage it, but because managing it will mean not managing something else for a while. He doesn't ask directly. He talks around it for several minutes before the actual number comes out, almost embarrassed to have said it at all. 3 years ago, this call would have produced a very specific kind of silence on your end. Not judgment, just the private, immediate math of what you could realistically absorb without it costing you something you weren't ready to lose. This time, there's no math to run. The number fits inside what the buffer can handle without needing to be rebuilt from empty. You say, I've got it, and you mean it in a completely unremarkable way, the way you'd mean it about picking up dinner. Your father thanks you like it cost you something. It didn't, not really, and that gap, between what he assumes it cost and what it actually cost, is the clearest evidence yet of a difference between the two of you and Owen that has nothing to do with income and everything to do with which trade you'd both been quietly making for years. By now, the buffer has become something you almost forget is there, in the specific way you forget about a floor until you notice you've stopped bracing for it to give way. That's the part almost nobody describes accurately in advance. It was never going to feel like winning. Most days, it doesn't feel like anything at all, which, it turns out, was the entire point the whole time. Owen, meanwhile, is still Owen, generous, quick to suggest the group dinner, still upgrading things on a rolling basis, still occasionally mentioning a repair or a bill that went on a card instead of coming from anywhere else. He's not in crisis. He's not making an obvious mistake anyone would call out. He's just playing a different game, with a different relationship to 11-day horizons than the one you eventually built for yourself. Here's what you understand now that you couldn't have been told at level 0, because it wouldn't have meant anything yet. The floor was never about restriction. It was never about denying yourself the phone or the jacket or the dinner. It was about which fear got to run your decisions. The fear of the next 11 days, or something further out than that. Once the floor existed, that fear simply had somewhere to land instead of somewhere to keep falling. You still don't feel rich. You suspect you never fully will, because the feeling was never really about the number. It scales with the size of what you're still afraid of, not the size of what you've built. But the fear itself has changed shape. It used to be about surviving the next 11 days. Now, on the rare occasions it shows up at all, it's about something further out, something with room to actually plan around instead of just react to. That's the whole story of the floor. It was never a ceiling. It never made anything possible that wasn't possible before. It just changed how far you could see before the next problem showed up, from 11 days to something considerably longer than that. If there's one thing worth carrying out of all 5 levels, it's this. The floor was built entirely out of unremarkable Tuesdays. Not a single dramatic decision, not one clever move, not a windfall or a lucky break. Just $40 here, a repair paid once instead of financed, a phone call answered without flinching. Nobody films the moment the floor finishes forming, because there isn't one. It just accumulates, quietly, underneath a life that from the outside never looked like it was changing at all. So, if you had to guess, honestly, how many days wide is your own horizon right now? And is that the actual size of your life, or just the size of the last emergency that hasn't fully let go yet?